One of the biggest question marks that I personally have for the Chicago Bulls team is head coach Billy Donovan. We're going to talk about Billy Donovan and the pressure that he's under to succeed with this core group, or is there more pressure on the players and has the front office already bet on their guy? We're going to talk about that. Plus, we're going to talk about number updates to players and dive into the mailbag. All that and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host, Sir Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into the content for today. And in yesterday's episode, I talked some about the Bulls players that are under the most pressure. And outside of the players, I also listed head coach Billy Donovan, right? And over on the Bulls Talk podcast, which I was lucky enough to be a guest on, we also talked about like Billy Donovan and the contract extension and the fact that is Billy Donovan really under any pressure? And so the question that I want to ask and kind of spin off from that is just this, right? With Billy Donovan being one of the front office's favorite people and being in with Jerry Reinsdorf, and we know how that is, if this Bulls season does go left, is it going to be the players that are blamed more for it? Very often we see coaches' head roll before players, right? We see the coach blamed for the lack of success from a team, then we getting fired, a new coach comes in, and we see a couple of instances of that before we really get major overhaul to the roster. But with Billy Donovan having his contract extension, which also Zach LaVine, Nikola Vucevic, some players do, will this front office, if this season is a struggle for the Chicago Bulls, will they more double down and bet on their coach, right? A coach that, you know, some Bulls fans have issues with. I like to think the overwhelming part of the community has issues with Billy Donovan, but per the conversation I had in the YouTube comments, not everyone looks at Billy Donovan as being one of the biggest issues with the team. Again, not the biggest issue and not the only issue, but one of the biggest issues with this team. But that is a perspective on it that I had never looked at, right? Is that, you know, if this team, and I don't think they'll struggle, at least I hope they don't struggle this year. I do hope that we're talking about a Bulls team that has over 40 wins, that avoids the play-in, that makes it interesting in the first round of the playoffs. That's what I hope for this team. I'm a Bulls fan. The optimism that I'm going to have for this team is always going to be eternal until I see it, right? And like I'm a realist as well with that. So once the season starts, if it's a struggle, I'm going to say it's a struggle, right? But with that said, like that's just an interesting perspective that you don't see a lot of franchises have, right? A lot of franchises go through coach. Unless you have like a coach that has won major things for your franchise, usually you'll see, and even then sometimes, right? We've seen coaches win coach of the year and then next year they're out, right? Or a couple of years later, they're out. So like when it comes down to like this team, is it that they're betting on this core, right? Are they invested in this core more, or are they invested in the head coach more, right? And so, you know, it carries its own pluses and minuses either way. If you are more so tied to your core that just doesn't have a high ceiling, that can hurt your franchise just as much if you're attached and locked in with a head coach that just isn't going to be the coach for your franchise, right? And you guys know I've been a very consistent with saying Billy Donovan is not a bad head coach. He's not a great head coach. And just because he's not a bad head coach doesn't mean he's the right head coach for this team either. But if the front office is more willing to change the team than the coach, what would that mean for the overlasting, like, kind of haul of this roster? And so that's just an interesting question and perspective to look at it on when you look at this team and, like, where this franchise sits is right now in the middle of the pack. Right now, it would say via AK's moves that he is going to double down on this core, right? That he's going to let this core see it through. And then, like I said before, I really do think we're not going to see any major changes to this roster until the summer of 2025, where the Bulls have substantial cap space and, you know, Lonzo's contract's off the books. And I think that this team is going to be kind of in a holding pattern in a way until that Lonzo contract comes off. And then that just happens to also coincide with the last year that we owe a first round pick to any other team. So with those two things going away, that's when we could see the team, the front office really pivot into a different direction than they may want to take this team and roster. But one of the questions is will Billy Donovan still be the head coach if that pivot does come? Now, you guys know, I know a lot of you guys talk a lot about, you know, head coach Chris Fleming or assistant coach Chris Fleming. And last year in the preseason poll, Chris Fleming was voted, I think, as it was either number 1 or 2 as far as the assistant coach that execs thought would make a great head coach, right, in the NBA. And so Chris Fleming's eventually going to get his opportunity. Will that opportunity come via the Chicago Bulls is the question. And then there's another outlook on it as well. With AK really being tied in and plugged in, I should say, with European basketball, could we see an experiment where he brings over a European head coach, which there actually are a couple out that, would really fit the Bulls system as well. So, like, it's a lot of different ways that this team could go, both with the roster and with the head coach, depending on what they want to change and rejigger, right? So at the end of the day, like, just seeing how this team does pivot, if they struggle again, right? And even if they do have some success, depending on the level of that success, what is the next time the Bulls look to really change the ceiling for the Chicago Bulls with moves, and will it be more so with the roster or with the coaching staff? So I'm going to throw that one to you guys. When you look at this team, what do you think is more likely to change first, the head coach or major changes to the core of the Chicago Bulls roster? Let me know what you guys think on that down below. But speaking of that roster, we got a couple of number updates for the team that I want to touch on real quick. So Torrey Craig will wear number 13. That number was kind of expected to go to actually Julian Phillips. So it looks like the vet's going to come in. He's going to wear Joakim Noah's former number. Better than Tony Bradley, like I alluded to, in the cold open. So Torrey Craig wear number 13, and Julian Phillips wear number 15 for the Chicago Bulls. So, shout out to that. Numbers, I really don't care. Like, it is what it is when it comes to numbers. Let's just see these guys perform. Come in and perform for the Chicago Bulls. Have bulls across your chest, as Jim Boylan used to say, and we'll see what that could do like for the team. And so overall, looks like the team's also, a lot of them are back in Chicago. So it looks like Dalen Terry, DeMar DeRozan, Ayo Dosunmu, Kobe White, among others. I even think Javonte Green was still out there with them. They went and did some golf and stuff like that. So yeah, it's good to see that the team is in Chicago. They're together. And training camp is just a couple of weeks away. And so, that's when this offseason will take a turn. And once media day hits, that's like the unofficial start of the season. And I'm really looking forward to it. But all right, it's Saturday, so that means it's Mailbag Day. Let's go ahead and get into the voicemails for today. This one's from Mingo.
What up, man? It's Mingo. Hey, check it. I just heard you on Bulls Talk with Tony Gill. I just want to let everybody know, man, out there. Hey, if you're following, subscribe, whatever, to Chicago Bulls Central, Hayes, you number one, baby. Hey, real talk, man. Anytime somebody can reach out and consider you to be a panelist, they know, man, you bringing the content, you bringing the energy, basketball knowledge. So just want to say, man, hey, even though I think you're bigger than all of them, real talk, man, CAGO, Bulls Talk, whatever podcast is out there, Central number one, though. But, for anybody consider you, man, you bring in the heat, baby. So just want to let you know, man, I feel like a proud uncle. You doing big things, man. Y'all follow and subscribe this dude, man. Listen, pass it around. Go out, baby.
First of all, thank you, Unc. I appreciate you so much and all your support, man. And we're going to get up at a Bulls game at some point this season. But, here's what I'll say is that I appreciate the love, and that means the world. Like, when I was reflective, right? I get in my reflective moods, right? And so, like, after being on Bulls Talk and just, because Tony Gill is somebody I've listened to for years, right? Even taking over Locked On Bulls, like I've listened to Matt Peck and Jordan Malley at that point in time before they even took over Locked On Bulls. Well, it was the Bulls Insiders Outsiders was their NBC show. The Debatables, that's what their original podcast was. And so listening to that, Doug Tonis, right? C-Ray Fred, listening to these guys for years. And now I can say, like, I've done episodes with all these guys, or they've been on the show in some shape, form, or fashion. So, like, the journey in this is amazing, right? And I love the fact that it's all rooted in my natural love for my Bulls and my Bears. That's what it's rooted in, right? Even in what I do over on Bleacher Report, right? And I'm their Bears correspondent now. They're basically full-time. I'm going to be doing Bulls stuff for them as well once the season starts. And so, like, just the amount of, like, work that has gone into this and the amount of growth that's come from this, both personally, with friendships, things like that. And so, like, I appreciate the love, and anybody who looks at me in that way and in that light with those guys. Like, but when it comes down to it, I'm just a kid who loves their team, man. That's really what it comes down to it. And I try to keep that level-headedness about it because none of this is me, right? I always give credit to you guys because this show would not have grown if it was up to just me, because I suck at promoting it on social media. Been a lot better and more consistent the last few months, but, like, It just is. And then what it's turned into, and then the Chi-Town Sports Central network like of shows that we have now. Like we cover the Sky, the Bulls, the Bears, the Blackhawks, the Cubs, the White Sox, right? We just cover everything NBA Central. So, as we just continue to grow, man, I thank you guys for the support. And Mingo, you've been there since damn near the beginning, bro. I appreciate you, man. All right, let's get into this next voicemail. This one's from Shay.
What's up, Hayes? This is Shay. With how much defense we have on our team, should we be number one in points not allowed or allowed? I forgot. I'm probably saying it wrong, but I believe we should be the number one defense. And another thing, I believe that we should for this whole season, upcoming season, I believe we should let our defense dictate our offense, because let's face it, with all the personnel that can play defense on the team, I feel like that's what we need to dictate how many games we win or if we lose. Now look, I know offense is important, but in our case, our defense should dictate our wins. Anyway, tell me what you think. Peace.
Great question. Should the Bulls be number one in points allowed, right? Basically, you're asking, should they be the number one defense? And here's what I'll say. The Bulls were a top 5 defense because they limited transition points by the opposing team, right? They didn't really fight for offensive rebounds. They immediately went up to set up their defense, which limit the other teams being able to get transition points. Eliminating that is going to put you high up in the statistics as far as one of the best defenses, because that is one of the most high efficiency ways team scores in transition. Now, with the addition of Torrey Craig, Javon Carter, our point of attack and half-court defense is going to hopefully see a jump up. And then when you factor in, let's hope Ayo. I'm going to factor in Ayo. Ayo DeSumo, Alex Caruso, Patrick Williams, also Kobe White's growth defensively, right? Yes, our core 3 players in Zach LaVine, Nikola Vucevic, and DeMar DeRozan aren't the best defensively. But like I've said before, Nikola Vucevic has been top 10 at his position in defensive rating for most of his career, which is weird, right? And yes, he's not a great one-on-one defender. He's going to get caught out of position on pick and rolls and some too. But the brand of team defense that this team can now bring, it's going to heavily rely on the identity and the edge that Torrey Craig and Javon Carter bring, as well as established players here like Alex Caruso already brings, right? And I do think that the Bulls could flirt with being a top defense in the league again. I think that they will be, right? That's the expectation that should be held for this team. You added 2 really good defenders to a team that was already top 5 defensively, whether it was an inflated stat or not. This Bulls team should be a better defensive team. And that's if you don't even see growth defensively from a Patrick Williams. Kobe continue to take a step defensively. Ayo gets back to what he was his rookie year defensively, which he wasn't really a slouch defensively either in his sophomore year, even though that season was a bit of a dip for him, right? So, and then we also added, we still got Dalen Terry, who defense, if he gets in the game, is going to have to be how he makes a name for himself. Julian Phillips is known as a really good on-ball defender as well if he gets in the court. Andre Drummond, right? So overall, this Bulls team should be pretty damn good defensively. And, asking if they can be the number one defense in the league, while I initially, when I listened to the voicemail, was like, I don't think that it's that far off. I really just don't think it's that far off. So let's hope that's the standard that the Bulls should be setting for themselves. Come in, and that, especially if Zach LaVine takes defense more serious and gives that consistent effort that we see from him in some stretches defensively. Hey, listen, this team could do some things defensively for sure, on top of hopefully being efficient offense as well. So let's hope that that is the case for this team next season. Let me know what you guys think down below. All right, let's get into the last voicemail for today. This is from Auntie.
Hey, what's the word? It's your auntie going. You know what it is. Hey, I was just on your podcast. The shit really kind of just irritated me. Kevin Porter Jr., you want to hit motherfucking women. I got 2 motherfucking sons. And I always told my motherfucking son, you will treat a woman how you will treat your mother with fucking respect. If you feel like she jumping in your face, it's okay to move her hand. Oh, watch out. If the pressure's getting too much, walk the fuck away. Leave. The fuck? Your ass a clown without fucking makeup. Who the fuck does that? Who the fuck hits on a fucking woman? Like, who does that? Your ass a clown. I don't know what the fuck wrong with you and Bridget. I don't know what the fuck wrong with y'all. Y'all making all this motherfucking money, and then y'all motherfucking bitches want to go to motherfucking social media because y'all beat the fuck out of them. You don't choke the bitch. That shit don't even make no motherfucking sense. You very disrespectful. Like, you should get jail time. They should kick your ass out of the NBA. That shit ain't cool. Don't mess around. I wouldn't dare. When I tell you I wouldn't dare put my hands on my daughter. I wouldn't dare put my hands on my fucking wife. My wife I come in every night, my wife starts shit all the time. She starts shit with me all the time. Ask me, do y'all see us all on Facebook going live because she got black eyes and I done choked and all that goof ass shit. You a goofball Jamal ass nigga. Your ass a clown. Man, from where I'm from, bro, the gang I'm in, I don't folks now. We don't even play like that. That's number one rule. Never disrespect a woman. Never put your hands on a fucking woman. Hey, you got some clown ass people in your motherfucking comments. Tell about what the fuck the woman did. It don't matter what the fuck she did. Why does it matter what the fuck she did? He's a whole fucking nigga. He's a whole fucking man. The fuck y'all found dumb. I don't give a fuck if y'all cuss me out for saying the shit I'm saying. I don't give no fuck. My wife must me all the time. All of my girls all the time. Man, I'm grabbing her hands. Watch out. On my mama, if I can't take the pressure, nigga, I'm leaving for the night, and she know I ain't coming back till the morning. I don't even play like that. Hand on a woman, bro, like really? Your ass a clown. You need a reality check. On my mama, check your fucking stuff. Your ass out of order. Your ass broke. Your ass need to check. On my mama. I wish you was here, because I get your balls and all ass right together. All right, hey.
Auntie going off. Here's what I'll say. I already kind of made my piece known on the Kevin Porter Jr. situation. There's no excuse for it. There's nothing that I'm going to do. And I know you get a lot of dumbass people in the comments that say things like, well, what did she do? What did she do? Without doing any goddamn research. And anybody who tries to use to me that, oh, well, what about black men? I don't give a fuck about that when it comes down to you hitting women. There's no excuse. I don't care if you're black, brown, purple. I don't give a damn what brand of melanin you have in your system. Right? That's not going to give you, I'm not going to give nobody a pass because we're the same race. That's stupid and idiotic. And when it comes down to it, Kevin Porter is a fucking coward and a loser. And yes, he deserves a ban from the NBA. Will he get it? We'll see. Unfortunately, we are in a place where talent kind of trumps everything at times. So we'll end up seeing, but Kevin Porter Jr. needs to not worry about the NBA and worry about his ass going to prison. That's my thought process, and I'm standing on it. I don't give a fuck what nobody says. With that being said, though, that's the end of the show for today. Make sure you guys are following the show at Bull Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, comments, questions, concerns, bullcentralpod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for our mailbag episodes, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, thanks to you guys. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See red if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.